الله على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين حبيب إله العالمين أبي القاسم محمد صلى على محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. بعد قال الله تبارك وتعالى في كتابه المجيد وقوله الحق والقائلين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الله ولي الذين آمنوا يخرجهم من الظلمات إلى النور والذين كفروا أولياؤهم يخرجونهم من النور إلى الظلمات أولئك أصحاب النار هم فيها خالدون. صدق الله العلي العظيم. صلوات صلى الله على محمد. We thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for giving us this opportunity to come together this holy month of Ramadan. Apparently this will be the first night for moon sighting and everything, and if moon is sighted tomorrow will be the first, this night will be the first night of the holy month, the month of tragedy of Ahlul Bayt, a month of mourning around the world. All the lovers of Ahlul Bayt, they come together. The month of Ramadan, Muharram, reminds us of a great tragedy and calamity that happened to Islam, to the family of Holy Prophet. I thank you all for inviting us here, and this Islamic Center, alhamdulillah, has been here. You all have been serving the cause of Ahlul Bayt by organizing these programs and activities throughout the year. And mashallah, as I heard, you all also try to cater to the younger people, children as well, to provide them some activities and guidance. Everyone who takes part in these activities, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bihaqqi ala Muhammad alayhi salam give them the best ajr, best reward inshallah, and give barakat, spread the barakat of this holy work in your families and in your children and in your generations. Loud salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa alam. We hope that all the, our mu'mineen, Isna Shari, they take part in the majalis in this center and all come in one place, so that inshallah together we will pay our salam and tribute to Imam Hussain alayhi salam and his family. This is happening all over the world. It's a time of reawakening of Islam and Muslims. This is Imam Hussein's struggle. It is the most powerful incident in history that awakened the Muslim Ummah, conscience of the Muslim Ummah. The atrocities, the mazalim that happened in Karbala were not limited to Karbala. They did not end with Karbala either. Karbala happened, there were other things that happened after Karbala. As you know, the forces of Yazid, they attacked the city of Medina. Forces of Yazid, they attacked the city of Makkah as well after that. So that the tragedy did not end. Imam Hussain alayhi salam became a shaheed, but he was not able to end all human suffering. He was not able to end all the zulm happening on the face of this earth. So we have to understand the reason Imam Hussain alayhi salam stood up. At least in the beginning, we should shed some light at what Imam Hussain wanted to achieve, and what caused him to come from Medina to Karbala, and what was the outcome of that. So we educate ourselves, enlighten ourselves, because there is a spirit in this whole story, and this the fact that it has remained alive is because the struggle of Imam Hussain did not end there. It spread. It turned on a flame that continues to burn. Inna liqatl al-Husayn hararatun fi qulub al-mu'minin. In the killing of Imam Hussain, there is a hararat, there is a heat in the hearts of the believers. La tabrudu abadan. It does not cool down. So what was that about? Imam Hussain, to understand this, in short, if I would say in one line so that we can start some discussion, is that Imam Hussain rejected the Yazidi system. Imam Hussein, Yazid rejected the system of Yazid and the values of Yazid. And Imam Hussein wanted to revive the system of Ghadir and the values of Ghadir and values of Wilayat Alawi. He wanted to bring to life the system of Imamat, which was put in place by Holy Prophet, and it was revived to some extent by Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salatu wasalam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa So, brothers and sisters, my first appeal to you is when you hear the name of Rasulullah or Imam Ali, recite salawat. Don't wait for me to tell you, okay? Recite aloud salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa So, Imam Rizal alayhi salam said that a person who cannot find some way to erase his sins, okay? Following my language, right? You all understand English clearly? Imam Rizal alayhi salam said if someone cannot find a way to erase his sins, kunah, you should recite salawat upon Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. This will completely destroy his sins. Please recite salawat. Allahumma salli ala This is the easiest way. If you have been watching these different clips that they send the actual question and answers of with Ayatollah Bahjat, where he says so many things. People ask him, I have this problem, I have that problem. He says, read salawat. He says, read salawat, read salawat. Salawat seems to be a solution for all maladies, all sicknesses, all problems, all ailments. The shortest solution and the easiest solution is salawat upon Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa So when there are more people in the crowd, there are more voices. Now when there are few people, they have to take the place of all the rest of the people. Okay? If we are 10 people, you have to recite salawat for 30 people. Understand my point? Let me hear you one more time. Salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala. You see, first of all, what prompted Imam Hussain alayhi salam to come out of Medina? What caused that? First point to understand is that Yazid, whatever his bad qualities, which Imam Hussain pointed out, right? Rajulun fasiqun, sharibul khamr, qatilun nafs al-muhtarama. Yazid is a person who is a murderer. He drinks alcohol. He commits adultery with mahram, and all kinds of those things, right? He had committed those things when? Before coming to power, right? Because he had just come to power. He had been doing it for a while. That's how people knew about him. Imam Hussain said that we are Ahlul Bayt. Jibreel comes to our house. Quran was revealed in our house. My grandfather is Rasulullah. My mother is Fatimatu Zahra. I am the son of Ali Murtaza, right? And we are the holders, keepers of knowledge. We are the Ma'danul Risala, Mukhtalif al-Malaika, right? He introduced himself. And who is Yazid? He openly violates the laws of Islam. That's who Yazid is, right? So my question is, when did Yazid do these things? Was not done on that day, right? He had been doing it during the time of his father, Muawiyah alayhi. Right? So why did Imam Hussain not rise up during the time of Muawiyah? Why did he not rise up during the time of, or why did Imam Hassan not rise up during the time of Muawiyah? Right? This is a question. And I want us to just look at it briefly from history so that we have a good sense of what really happened, right? Please cite a salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa. First of all, we should know as a clear statement that we can apply everywhere. None of the Imams give any bay'at to any taghut. None of the Imams gave allegiance to any of the rulers of their time. And because they reaffirmed their position and their claim of being the successors of Holy Prophet, being the rightful caliphs, being the people who had were entitled to be in power, that they were the one who had haqqi khilafat, correct? So they did not give bay'at to anyone. You can see that in the time of Imam Ali alayhi salatu wasalam, when the third Khalifa's selection was being made in the Shura, right? There were 6 people. Second Khalifa appointed a small Shura council to choose the Khalifa, correct? So they offered Imam Ali alayhi salam to uh, commit to Quran, Sunnat of Rasulullah, and to Sirah Shaykhain, Sirah of first and second Khalifa, right? And Imam Ali refused. He said, I will follow Quran and the Prophet's Sunnah and my own judgment. He refused to accept the first and second, Sirah Shaykhain that we call, right? So they did not give him the Khilafah. They gave it to Osman, the third Khalifa. So fine. Another many years he had to wait. So Khilafat was taken from him at Saqifa, and he had already been isolated in the society. All he had to do was say, okay, I will follow the first and second. But he refused that. In the end, after the third Khalifa was killed, people came to the house of Imam Ali insisting and begging him, requesting him to become the Khalifa. Imam Ali was the one refusing them. They were unconditionally offering Khilafah to Imam Ali. They said, you be our Khalifa. Imam Ali said, refused and said, I would be better off as your Wazir. I can be a supporter and helper instead of being your Khalifa. They insisted. Finally, some of them came and said, and their names are given in history, Talha and Zubayr. They said, we ask you to accept this because you have the responsibility to save Islam. And if you don't do that, we will complain to Holy Prophet on the Day of Judgment. Don't you fear Allah? Talha was saying to Imam Ali, don't you fear Allah? Imagine someone saying to Imam Ali alayhi salam, don't you fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Anyway, Imam Ali alayhi salatu wasalam said, if you want to accept me as my Khalifa, as your Khalifa, then come to the masjid, there'll be a... So Imam Ali refused. They insisted, and then he put his conditions that I will take it back to the time the way it was in the time of Holy Prophet. That you will all be put through a lot of trial. There'll be a lot of testing going on. It will not be easy. And those who had been isolated will be brought back. Those who were made powerful will be removed from the scene. Right? Those things that were almost forgotten during these many years will be revived. They'll be put in place again. So this was Imam Ali alayhi salatu wasalam. So our question is trying to understand, first of all, one thing. One is Imam Hussain alayhi salam, why did he rise up against Yazid? So the first thing is that when Rasul Akram sallallahu alayhi wa wasallam passed away, recite salawat. When he passed away, right? There were many very sad events that happened at that time. First of all, people left the janazah of Holy Prophet and they left to decide about Saqifa, right? And in the Saqifa, they came together and decided they will have the first Khalifa. And then once they came into the masjid, they announced, okay, so-and-so is the first Khalifa, and they forced people to come and give allegiance. At that time, they attacked the house of Hazrat Fatima Zahra and Imam Ali and forcibly brought Imam Ali alayhi salam into the masjid and tried to make him give bay'at to the first Khalifa. Imam Ali alayhi salam refused. So they tried to force him. They were pushing him and dragging him and trying to do that. And at that point, Hazrat Fatima Zahra salamullah alayha came to the masjid. She raised her voice and she said, I implore and I raise my voice against this and I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to come to my help. She begged, she cried toward the grave of Holy Prophet that look at what they are doing to your wasi, your Khalifa, who is Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salatu wasalam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa. They were pushing Imam Ali and forcing him, but they saw that this is no bad, that this will not be, it doesn't even look like a bad. thought that by forcibly bringing Imam Ali, he will give his bay'at to the first Khalifa, but it did not happen. He was resisting, he did not let them have it. In the end, they gave up. That was one incident where they tried to force Imam Ali to give bay'at, but it did not happen. Second time happened when Yazid ibn Muawiyah al-Anatullah came to power. So during these 20 so many years, right, since the hijrat of Holy Prophet to Medina till Karbala, 50 years had passed. After the demise of Holy Prophet, 50 years had passed. Since hijrat, this was 60 years. 60 years passed since the Holy Prophet's migration, right? So during these 60 years, what happened? Was another incident of Imam Hassan and Muawiyah. It was a sulh. There was a peace treaty. It was about to be a war, but because of some generals in Imam Hassan alayhi salam's army who basically were corrupt, they took money from Muawiyah and they changed sides. Like at night, they were in the camp of Imam Hassan. In the morning, people woke up, the army woke up, the commander was not there. The general, the commander of the army had left and gone to the other side, Muawiyah's side. When this situation developed, Imam Hassan was forced to sign a peace treaty with Muawiyah. In that peace treaty, and I want your attention, this will enlighten and clarify some things about history. That in the terms of that treaty, Imam Hassan clearly mentioned that Muawiyah does not have right to appoint a successor. Muawiyah does not have the right to appoint his successor. What does that mean? That is something very important to note. In the Shia teachings, right? In the Shia teachings, who is the Imam? Imam is the person appointed by Rasulullah, right? The next Imam. Next Imam is the one appointed by Imam Ali alayhi salatu wasalam. And who is the next Imam? Appointed by Imam Hassan alayhi salam is the next Imam. Who is the next Imam? Hussein appoints the next Imam, right? And all of these 12 Imams were appointed by Rasulullah in succession, one after another, after another, after another. And why do we believe this? We believe it in the light of the teachings of Holy Prophet. But this is exactly what happened from Adam all the way till Rasulullah. Adam appointed his son. Ibrahim appointed his son. Yaqub appointed his son, Yusuf. And the same way continued. Musa appointed his brother Harun, the successor. This has been a tradition. Families of prophets are linked like a chain together. Because they are from the pure spirit of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They are ones who you trace the ancestry of the prophet, you will find that there is not a single soul who was not a mu'min, who was not a believer. All were believers from Adam all the way down to Khatam al-Mursaleen, Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. All of these were like that. So we believe that imamat is by succession. It's not by election. It is by announcement of Allah. Yes, election is important too. Why is election important? Election is important so that people come and give their pledge, give their allegiance, give their bay'at of support. That's why bay'at is needed. Today we call it election. Now it's not exactly the same thing. Because in bay'at you basically are willing to die for that person. I will support you wholeheartedly with my life and my soul and my family. That's what bay'at means. Today election does not mean that. Election means I support you as a candidate for next election. That's what it means, right? But bay'at was something even more serious. But bay'at was required. Why? Not because people make an imam. No, bay'at is required to show support to the imam. That yes, what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has announced, we accept it. We are willing to defend you. We are willing to stand up for you, willing to support you, willing to execute your orders, willing to comply with your instructions, your requirements. We will follow you, basically. This is why bay'at is needed. So it's not an election. Election is where people come together, elect someone as a president. Elect someone, and people basically give power to that person. No, people did not give power to Imam Ali. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave power to Imam Ali through the announcement that was made at the event of, will tell me, Ghadir Khum, right? Loud salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. Muhammad wa. In the terms, Imam Hassan alayhi salam told Muawiyah, this treaty is being signed where you do not have the right to appoint a successor. Now, I was just describing a Shia belief on this point of appointment of the next Khalifa by the previous. In the Sunni also history, the same thing. Believe that in Saqifa they appointed the first one. The first one, what did they do? They appointed the second one without any election. The second one did what? Did he hold an election? No. He basically said to these 6 people, you decide between you. You call this an election? No, it was not an election. So basically, that was also an appointment. So basically, in Shia culture and in Sunni culture, both, leadership is by appointment. Yes, we do not accept their viewpoint because they don't believe in imamat as something from Allah. They believe that people can make their own Khalifa of Rasulullah. That is wrong. People cannot make a Khalifa of Rasulullah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes the Khalifa, right? But why do we believe Imam Ali is the Khalifa of Rasulullah? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made him Khalifa, not the people. So it is by appointment, but correct appointment. They also believe in appointment, which is wrong. But the people at Saqifa did not have the right. Rasulullah never said anything that, okay, when I pass away, when I die, you gather at this place of Saqifa and you hold a discussion or debate and one of you will become the Khalifa. Did he say that? We did not say that. We both believe, Shias rightfully believe and they believe wrongly. Wrongfully they believe that a Khalifa can appoint a next Khalifa. So in the end, what happens? What happens is that both of us believe that if someone is a Khalifa, he has a right to appoint the next Khalifa. Is this clear? If someone is a Khalifa, appoints, and Imam Hassan said to Muawiyah, you do not have that right. You do not have the right to appoint the next Khalifa as Yazid or whoever. You don't have that right. And Muawiyah signed it. Muawiyah agreed to those terms. What does that mean? It means that you are not my Khalifa. Imam Hassan made the treaty with Muawiyah and he said you do not have the right to appoint a Khalifa. What does that mean? If you take away that power from a Khalifa, it means he's no Khalifa. I mean, there was no bay'at. People who say that Imam Hassan did bay'at of Muawiyah are wrong. Imam Hassan never did. There was no such thing. It was just a ceasefire agreement. That's all. So none of the Imams performed any bay'at to any of the rulers in their times. Why? Because they believed they had the right to be the Khalifa themselves, appointed by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Please say Allah salawat. Allahumma sallam. What happened, coming to my original point, why did Imam Hussain alayhi salam rise up against Yazid? The reason was Yazid forced Imam Hussain to give bay'at. Muawiyah, after the treaty with Imam Hassan alayhi salam, right? Imam Hassan had told Muawiyah, you will not have the right to appoint a successor, right? But 10 years passed after that. Muawiyah did not go after Imam Hussain, forcing him to accept Yazid. No, he did not. He just kept telling people, my son Yazid will be the next Khalifa, my son, trying to force people to accept his son Yazid. And people were reluctant. Many refused, so Muawiyah forced them, put them in prison, killed some of them, murdered some of them. Out of the fear that he created, many people accepted Yazid as the Khalifa. There was a silence because they had enslaved the people, taken their freedom of choice, taken the freedom of expression, political freedom, freedom of expression. No, he even took from them freedom, right to live. So if you refuse to accept someone as a Khalifa, you don't have a right to live. People were put in prisons, they were killed, targeted. If they were notable in their community, they were a target. That's what he was doing, but he did not come after Imam Hussain alayhi salam. There was a reign of terror. There was fear everywhere. And that fear increased many times more as Yazid came to power. As he came to power, he wrote a letter to the governor of Medina, Walid ibn Utbah. He told him there was one main letter. Along with the letter was a small piece, which the riwayat says like udhun of fa'aratin, like the ear of a mouse. And that was an attachment kind of to that letter, not in the main letter. In the main letter, Yazid required the governor of Medina to ask people to give allegiance to Yazid, to take their bay'at of Ali, of Yazid as the Amir al-Mu'minin. That attached piece of paper, which was a small piece, it was said that force Hussein ibn Ali to give his bay'at to me. And if he does not, chop his head off and send his head to me. That was the order that was given on that separate sheet. And well, Mu'arrikhun, the historians have written that. Historians have recorded that. Why did he write it on a separate piece of paper? For deniability. So that tomorrow, if they come after, hey, Yazid could say, no, I never forced Hussein to give bay'at. It was Ibn Ziyad. Like later on, Yazid, what he did? He put the blame on Ibn Ziyad. Know that I'm summarizing. Uh, when the prisoners, they arrived in Sham over there, happened. The heads of the Shuhada were brought in this court, and the women of the household of Prophet Muhammad were been taken to more than 60 cities, paraded and taken, and the heads were ahead of them, and these women, they were suffered. They were made to suffer, and they arrived in the court of Yazid. What Yazid did was he put the head of Imam Hussein outside his palace. And Hind, wife, she saw the head of Imam Hussein with light coming out of that and going to the sky. And the fragrance, the aroma, that was spread all around, which was not only sensed over there, but throughout this journey. Hind, as soon as she recognized the head of Imam Hussein, she came, she opened her head, and she came into the court of Yazid. And she raised her voice, how come the head of the son of Rasulullah is hanging outside my home? How come the women of Prophet's family, they are made prisoners and brought in this condition to your court? You are keeping your own family behind curtains, and you are parading, taking out the family of Holy Prophet and their women outside like this. And what did Yazid say? Yazid said that this is indeed a calamity, this is a tragedy which Ibn Ziyad committed. He rushed into this, and I did not give the order. Why did he do that? Only yesterday he was showing his pride, his glory, his joy upon the victory that he had gotten in Karbala, upon the arrival of the prisoners in his court. Yazid was the one who was celebrating this event the most. He had gathered all that crowd. When the envoys, ambassadors of Rome and Persia, and all the dignitaries and notables, all the rich and aristocrats, all the people, not only Muslims, he was showing off his victory to non-Muslims. And what happened this next day or 2-3 days later? He's saying he's shifting the blame to Ibn Ziyad because he had issued the order, he had committed the crime, but when people revolted against him, when the tides turned against him, when he saw that he could not justify it, he shifted the blame on Ibn Ziyad. If Ibn Ziyad committed without his order, he should have punished him. Yes, he never punished anyone. No one was held responsible. No one was tried. No one was punished after Karbala. What did that show? Very clearly. Yazid, basically, as soon as he came to power, right, he had that same feelings of jahiliyat, where you basically use force and get what you want, where might is right, law of the jungle, where basically, you can get away with anything because your families has been ruling. As we know in history, people have mostly been ruled by oppressive kings, and they become dynasties. The fund somebody appoints a son, and they basically accumulate all the power in their hands, and they oppress the people. That has been the one. And Imam Hussein alayhi salam had, what choice did he have when Yazid demanded bay'at from Imam Hussein alayhi salam? He refused. All imams refused bay'at, but Yazid was forcing Imam Hussein. That did not leave him any choice. Basically, our imams always refused bay'at, but the rulers would not force. Imams would say their thing. The rulers would deny him their power. Sometimes put him in house arrest or prison. Sometimes put poison in their food and kill them. Did not openly come after them to wage a war. Why? Because they know that this will arouse the people's sympathies. People will gather around them, and there will be a repercussion. There will be a problem after that. And Muawiyah was advising Yazid, be careful of that. Muawiyah was dying. One of his things he said to Yazid was that you demand allegiance, bay'at from the people. Hussein will refuse. When that happens, show leniency. Do not force him. Why? Because Muawiyah knew that if you force Hussein ibn Ali, the Muslim Ummah will rise up. The impact of that will be long lasting. It will not be able, they will not be able to control that. Yazid was in rush to eliminate all opposition. The rush, like a dictatorial, like a oppressive person who basically is out to remove all opposition from the society. We have many examples of that in history. In Russia, in Nazi Germany, in other places, we had many examples of it. Italy and in Iraq, we had many. Any voice of dissent, eliminated. That was the mentality. Why was he doing that? First of all, Yazid was a kafir. He was openly, basically rejected Islam. He said that La'ibat Banu Hashim bin Mulki Fala, Khabarun Ja'a Wala, Wahyun Nazal. Said that the Banu Hashim were playing a game of politics, trying to get power. That's all they were doing. Otherwise, there was no Gabriel, there was no Quran, there was no revelation, there's no nubuwwat or risalat upon Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa. So when Yazid came and forced Hussein ibn Ali, Imam Hussein had no choice. He had no choice. He refused. When he refused, it was the duty of the people of Medina to stand up with Imam Hussein alayhi salam. That is the first calamity, first tragedy that happened was in the city of Medina. People, when we are talking about the city that supported Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, how much had the culture corrupted and ruled by fear and mental slavery, basically, loss of morals. When morality is crushed and destroyed among the people, what happens? People lose the sense of right and wrong. Basically follow those who can provide them their basic needs. They lose their sense of the sense of morality, values. Values are lost in the society. Imam Hussein alayhi salam wanted, as I said in the beginning, Imam Hussein alayhi salam rejected the system of Yazid and the values of Yazidi values and Sufyani values, and wanted to revive the Ghadiri values. He wanted to bring to light the values of the Hukumat Alawi, the values of his father, Imam Ali Murtaza alayhi salatu wasalam. Allahumma salli ala. So that's how Imam Hussein alayhi salam was basically forced to come out. He was forced to come out. Obviously, he said, "Mithli la yubayu mithlahu." He said when he refused bay'at, refused to give bay'at, he also wanted to set an example for all times that a person like me will never give allegiance to a person like Yazid. Person with high morals in the society who wants human freedom, right? Wants divine values, wants the rule of Quran. He wants to live by the sunnah of his grandfather, the Holy Prophet, and his father, right? He will never allow the evil practices, the misguided ways of Yazid to basically dominate the society. Society, that I have left Medina to bring to life the sunnat of my grandfather, my father, and my brother Hassan, right? Asira basirat jaddi wa akhi wa wabi. That's why Imam Hussain said. And he clearly told the people that I am going out uh, towards Karbala and death is following me. Only result of this uprising will be death and shahadat. So anyone who is coming seeking something else should be clear about this. That there is no outcome other than shahadat. And shahadat is exactly that statement Imam Hussain wanted to make, given that he was forced to give bay'ah, and there was no way Imam Hussain would give bay'ah to Yazid. Just as there was no way Rasulullah could abandon his mission. The face of all the opposition when he was alone with Ali, Rasulullah and Ali were just two people in Makkah, right? Abu Talib and Khadija, that's it. Main supporter was Ali. All the Quraysh, all the Qabail, everyone was against Rasulullah. They all came to the house of Abu Talib, said, ask your nephew to give up this mission and we will give him whatever he wants. The Holy Prophet said this famous statement, right? They put sun on my right hand, the moon on my left hand, I will not abandon this mission. Because how could he abandon the mission that was given to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? It is just like saying, for example, if people don't believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, will Allah give up his right as Allah? As the Rabbul Alameen? Rabbul Alameen does not change. Risalat of Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam does not change. Allahumma salli Muhammad. The same way is the Khilafat and succession of Holy Prophet, which was given to Ahlul Bayt, will not change. No matter if all the people turn away from that, fact remains that yes, Hussain ibn Ali will stand up to uphold the message of Tawheed and Risalat and the Wilayat of Ghadir that Rasulullah announced, and will attain Shahadat, reject the system of Yazid, and invite the people to rise up against Yazid of every time, which alhamdulillah has been the moral and the motto and the principle by which Shia Muslims have lived to this day. Anywhere in the world where there's oppression, Shia Muslims, the followers of the Prophet and his family, are the first to raise their voice. The blood of Shia is the first blood that is spilled in the path of freedom. Shias are the first voice of dissent in every society when there is corruption going on. Whenever there is corruption, there's oppression, there's enslavement of people. When you feel the voices of the masses are silenced, right? When the truth does not come out, the path is the path of Hussain ibn Ali. That is the path. Imam Hussain al-Islam made it very clear. He was outnumbered by his enemies in such vast numbers. Hussain ibn Ali, how many people wrote to Imam Hussain? And how many actually came to Karbala? Yes, there were many in prisons. There were many killed on the way. There were many who forced to go elsewhere, or they were put on house arrest or could not leave Kufa. But compared with the people who wrote letters to Imam Hussain al-Islam, a smaller number, much smaller number, which is a test. The people, when they make claims with their tongue, only their actions will show if their claims are true or not. Words don't carry that much weight. Action carries weight. Loyalty, faithfulness. And in that incident, you see Imam Hussain al-Islam, he left Medina, and the first Shaheed of Islam in this path of Imam Hussain was Muslim ibn Aqil. Muslim arrived in Kufa. Alone, this father of two sons, he arrived and he lost his sons during the events in Kufa. Muslim ibn Ali, he took refuge in a Mu'mina's house. That night when he found out that Hani ibn Urwa had been arrested, next day Muslim gave a call to rise up. The people of Kufa gathered near Darul Amara. Darul Amara is the old structure that used to stand in those times. Now, if you go to Kufa, there is nothing remained of that. Muslim gathered over there with a lot of people, especially from the tribe of Hani ibn Urwa, demanding release of Hani ibn Urwa. Hani was a host. Hani was among those loyal people of Kufa. Kufa had many loyal people who died in Karbala. He was tortured but was still alive. Qadi Shuraih was bin Ziyad. He asked Qadi Shuraih, the Qadi of Kufa, to come and look at the condition of Hani and go out and announce to the people that Hani is fine. Hani was severely injured. Shuraih did not tell the people that Hani is close to being Shaheed. He just told the people, Hani, I found him okay. He's in good condition. People of Kufa went back. Muslim ibn Aqil, when he saw gradually that people are leaving and leaving after Salatul Maghrib, he turned around. There were very few people. As he came out of Babul Kinda, walking on the streets in Kufa, he turned around and saw no one with him. At night, he walked on the streets of Kufa all by himself. And you know what? There were tears in the eyes of Muslim ibn Aqil. The tears in his eyes were not for himself. The tears in his eyes for the Mazlumiyat of Hussein ibn Ali. And he was asked the answer he gave. That night, a few moments he spent in the house of that Mu'mina, then he heard the steps, the sound of horsemen. He was surrounded and he tried to go out, and she told him, Muslim, why don't you stay and fight in the house? He said that they will come inside the house. I don't want the sanctity of your house to be violated by these people. One person of Bani Hashim standing against an army, fighting, he killed till he was arrested and taken to the court. I did not say salam to Ubaidullah bin Ziyad when he was told, why didn't you give salam? He said, Mali Amirun illa Hussein. I do not have any Amir except Hussein ibn Ali. The order was given to behead him on the rooftop of Darul Amara. He was taken over there. He sent his last salam. Assalamu alayka ya Abu Abdullah. He had tears in his eyes. He said that I'm not crying for myself. I'm crying for the Mazlumiyat of Hussein. I have written to Hussein to come to Kufa because Kufa is ready for your support. His salam was received by Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Hussein alayhi salam was on his way. Before Hajj started, Imam Hussein, 9th of Zil Hajj, actually, he heard the news of Shahadat of Muslim ibn Aqil. When he heard the news of Shahadat, he called the daughter of Muslim ibn Aqil, had her sit on his lap, and he was putting his hand on her head, and she noticed and she said, you are treating me like I'm an orphan. And Imam Hussein informed her that your father Muslim has been killed. वक्त जब इत्तला दी जनाब मुस्लिम की बेटी को कि तुम्हारे बाप की शहादत हो चुकी है, जनाब सकीना खड़ी देख रही थी. जस्ट अ फ्यू वर्ड्स इन उर्दू. जनाब सकीना वहाँ खड़ी देख रही थी. सकीना समझी कि शायद यतीम के साथ यही सलूक होता है. यतीम को शायद अगर कोई मारा जाए उसका बाप, तो यतीम के साथ शफकत बरती जाती है. लेकिन वहाँ क्या देखा, जब सकीना का वक्त आया, हुसैन इब्न अली शहीद हो गया, जनाब सकीना ने देखा कि उनके चेहरे पर तमाचे मारे गए. उनको इजाजत ना मिली कि अपने बाबा के किनारे आके चंद कतरे आंसू बहा सके. अला लअनतुल्लाह अलल कौमिज़ ज़ालिमीन व सयअलमुल लज़ीना ज़लमू अय्य मुनक़लिबिन यनक़लिबून. O Allah, بحق Muhammad wa ali Muhammad, make the zuhur of Imam Zaman close. O Allah, بحق Muhammad wa ali Muhammad, accept our Qaleel ibadat in this holy month of Muharram. O Allah, bring all the mu'mineen together in this azah. O Allah, give us tawfiq to serve Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Ya Hussein.